barrage of fans. So it's a good day so far.
My name is Randal Jarrell. I'm the managing editor of Oni Press.
And I'm Jennifer Guzman. I'm editor-in-chief at SLG Publishing, slave labor graphics.
The whole reasoning behind this panel is every year we do a bunch of conventions. At least 90% of things that we get from people are either inappropriate, not acceptable. A couple years back here at San Diego, someone came up to me and they asked, what is Oni Press looking for? And I told them at the time, anything but vampires or superheroes. And I swear to God, the guy said, well, I have a vampire superhero book I would like to give you.
I've gotten phone calls from people asking, why don't we publish superhero comics? And they want to argue with me about it. And it's just like, nothing you're going to say is going to change the fact that we generally don't publish superhero comics. Another thing is, know who you're submitting to, know who's going to read your proposal. I don't want to get a cover letter that says, Dear Sir, on writing.
One thing that we have at least once or twice a year is someone will come up to us and say, I love your line, I love what you publish, I read all your stuff. I would love to work with Omni Press.
We have our submission guidelines, and so do a lot of publishers, on our website. They're very clear. They lay out everything that you should include in a submission in a proposal. Part of the reason it's so specific is because I want to be able to tell if somebody has done their research. When you're in independent comics, you need to really be everything for yourself. You need to know how to lay out panels, you need to know how to ink and pencil. You might even have to know how to letter unless you want to get somebody to do that for you. With the web comics being really popular, which is kids today, I get a lot of submissions that are printed out at web quality. So it's just a big page of fuzz. Production for the web is not at all the same as production for print.
Editors do not care about pinups. This cannot be emphasized enough. Comics and graphic novels is a storytelling medium, and first and foremost, we are looking for storytelling ability. We joke that we would rather see good storytelling with stick figures than pinups, because pinups do not tell you anything other than, I could draw maybe a cover.
We don't want pastiche, we don't want aping of what other people do. Like these cover letters that I got, and these are just from the beginning of the month this week, and then, this is a story about a bunch of 20-something slackers who work in a retail store. And it's like, okay, you're giving me clerks. Or I had this really bad run of submission after submission. The story was about these guys, and they meet this girl, and she's messed up, and her stepfather raped her, or she's been kidnapped, or she's on drugs, or she's emotionally disturbed and wants him to shoot her. Tired of seeing stories where women are the victims, or they're crazy and they need saving. Oh, it makes me so mad.
We get a lot of people every year that's like, I have this great idea that will make a great movie, or I have this unproduced screenplay that I want to turn into a comic so I could eventually turn into a movie. We're not interested in that. We want to publish books that the people are so passionate about, the creators are so passionate about, that even if they have to do it in their basement and staple the books together, they are going to do the work and it's going to get out there.
When you publish titles like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, it attracts a certain element. And they think that because we publish comics where people act strangely or they're wacky, that's what we want people to act like when they interact with us. That's not what we want.
There's not a whole lot of money in independent comics. There's certainly not enough to justify working with crazy people or jerks.
I was working for a while doing administrative jobs that I really hated. And I took a year off to do my own writing. And by the end of that, I was broke. And I thought, well, I need to get a job, but I don't want to get a job that is going to make me want to, hurt myself or other people. And I had some friends who were really into comics, and they said, Jennifer, you live right near San Jose, you should apply to slave labor graphics. And I had read their books. I have a first printing of Boom Cookie #1 signed by Serena Valentino, so I was kind of a fan. And so I sent my resume in and said, okay, I'm looking for work. I can type and I can read and you know, just a general resume. And the president of the company wrote back, said, yeah, we're looking for somebody, come on in. And I got the job. And at first I was just an editorial assistant. I would scan art and lay it out, and come to think of it, I still do that. I just have a better title. And I just was diligent. I worked to get to know the industry and to understand the art, and when you do that, just like if you're an artist, if you're an editor, the people will recognize that. So I got to be editor-in-chief and have water bottles that say chief on them. And people often ask me, what kind of education I have. And I was an English major at college, and I have a master's degree in literature and creative writing. That helps, but that was not the reason why I was hired.
I used to work at comic conventions, organized comic conventions in Houston, Texas, back in 92, 93, with a friend of mine, Joe Nosmak. And in 97, Joe formed Oni Press, and they were up in Oregon. And at one point, they had this editor-in-chief, J.B. Rich, who left the company. And whenever they left, James Lucas Jones, who was the other editor, got promoted to editor-in-chief, and they needed another person. So Joe had to make kind of a short list, and I was on the short list. It basically came down to networking. Who do you know? What experience do you have? I guess it's all down to networking, but what I usually tell people is, and this applies not just to comics, but any job you may ever have, no matter what you do it to the best of your ability as professionally as possible, because you never know when in the future those people that you have worked with, will give you a call. I was literally at my house one day, and I got a call, and they asked what I was doing. I think I was working for Time Warner at the time, and they said, would you like to come work at Oni? And I was like, yeah, sure. Took a big pay cut, packed my pregnant wife up in a truck, and moved across the country to work in comics.
You sucker.
Yeah. But as far as like what prepares you for it, as managing editor, a lot of my job is based on like kind of organization, logistics, and workflow. So a lot of coordination with printers, distributors, artists, publishing side, editorial, etc. So I was kind of brought in to kind of worry about everything, and they just felt that would be good.
So it's a total no on the vampires.
The saddest part about that story was, and I hope this guy's not in here, he actually, he was there with his girlfriend, and the comic featured him as the vampire superhero, and his girlfriend was his vampiress other in the comic.
Her bride of vampires.
It's absolutely terrible. That poor guy. I hope he's given up. Well, thank you very